There are loads of ways you can accidentally be making your golf clubs illegal. So what are they? In this video, I'm going to be running through 7 equipment rules that I see commonly broken out on the golf course, so you don't get any penalty shots, or even worse, get disqualified next time you head out in competition. Now, the first way you can make your golf club illegal most commonly happens with driver and by people like me who like to practice in an indoor simulator. Now, some launch monitors that we use inside a sim room require you to put dots on the club face so you can pick up all the different pieces of data. And while that's fine while you're indoor practicing, if you head out on the golf course and hit shots with your driver or any other club in your bag with those stickers on, that's actually against the rules of golf. Now, this is because you're artificially changing the club face, and because that's the hitting surface of the club and where we make contact with the ball, there's lots of strict rules and regulations around that to make sure people aren't performance enhancing. The rules are so strict on this, if you actually go out and make a stroke while you have these stickers on your club face, you will be disqualified from competition. So next time you go for an indoor practice session, if you put any stickers on your club, make sure to take them off before you head out back on the golf course. While you're here, I would really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. Over 80% of people who currently watch this channel aren't actually subscribed, and having a bigger subscriber number really helps in terms of what opportunities we can get and then what great videos we can bring back to you. So please hit that subscribe button, and while you're there, you might as well give this video a like and drop us a comment about what else you want to see on the channel. Right, back to it. Now, you can also be hit with a disqualification if you alter the club face in other ways. Most famously, Matsuyama got disqualified for filling in part of his club face, and that's because he decided on his 3-wood he wanted to improve the alignment of the inner circle of lines. So he decided to fill them in with a paint-like substance. Now, you are allowed to visually change the look of a club, and you can even change what's on the club face, but you have to do it with something that you can't visibly feel on the surface of the club. So if I really decided I wanted to all black this out, I could do so with a Sharpie, and that wouldn't create any texture on the surface of the club face. Unfortunately for Matsuyama, he used a thicker, more paste-like substance that stuck out off the club face, and once he hit that 3-wood out on the golf course, the rules officials had to head out and disqualify him. So if you want to make changes to how your club face looks, make sure you do it with something that doesn't come up off the surface. Or maybe to be on the safe side, just leave it as it is. Now, some people do tweak the way clubs look on the top line rather than on the club face. For example, a lot of times on putters, you'll see people add sight lines just to change the way it lines up. And this is allowed. You are allowed to add something to the top of the club as it's not on the striking face, but it does have to be something that's semi-permanent and durable. So it can't be something like a little flimsy sticker. It has to be a Sharpie or an engraving or something that's designed to stay there for a long time. If you end up in a situation like this, you might want to think about how aggressively you hit your golf shot, and if you really want to bounce your club off that tree or object that's in the way. And that's because if you damage your club, even if it's through the natural course of the round and just playing a shot, you then can't use that golf club anymore throughout your round as it's been changed from its original property. If any part of the club gets changed, be that the club head, the shaft, the grip, and if it's by accident or on purpose, you then can't use that club. And if you do carry on and continue to use the club after it's been changed, you can be disqualified. Now, if you do decide this shot is your only option and you damage the club in the natural course of play, where it's not by you basically doing a Tyrrell Hatton and getting angry, you are allowed to replace the club as long as you don't slow down play. But realistically, how many of us just have a spare club or want to go buy another from the pro shop? So if you want to play it safe, maybe just chip it out sideways. But if you really do want to go for it, make sure you thoroughly check your club after you've hit the shot, and if there's any sign of damage, put it back in your bag and don't use it for the rest of the round. Now, the golf club rule I probably see being broken the most often is the 14 club rule. So if you weren't aware, you're only allowed to carry up to a maximum of 14 clubs. Now, I think most of the time this is broken, it's accidental, be it people being out practicing with old or new clubs and they just forget to take them out of their bag. This actually happened to Joel Damon recently on the PGA Tour. Tour players often carry a driving iron, a hybrid and a lofted wood and swap them in and out depending on what's needed for the tournament that week. Unfortunately for him, he forgot And the penalty for this is a 2-shot penalty for every hole you carry in the extra club. Now, fortunately, this is up to a maximum of 4 strokes, but it did mean he got a 4-shot penalty, which ultimately cost him making the cut. So next time you head out on the golf course, make sure to count your golf clubs in your bag so you don't get struck with a hefty penalty. Modern golf clubs are great because they have so much added adjustability. We can really get something that's customised and flexible to our game. That means suddenly if you're slicing it more, you can adjust it to help you hit more of a hook. If you're hitting it too high, you can bring the loft down and help you hit it lower. But actually, it's illegal to change these settings while you're out on the golf course. So while yes, you can go to the range, tinker about and see what's the most efficient setting to give you the best ball flight or shot shape, once you're out on the golf course, you have to stick with the setting you set off with. This is because if you went around tweaking your clubs on every hole to match the shot you needed to hit, say I wanted to add a little bit of loft because my 3-wood might go too far in this instance, you're effectively carrying more than 14 clubs because you're giving yourself so many different options. And in the R&A and USGA's view, that's de-skilling the game. So while the adjustability is great and I would encourage you to use it in practice or maybe with a fitter or a coach, what you can't do is be changing these settings once you're out on the golf course, because again, that will get you disqualified. Now, there is one exception to this, and that is if any of these settings come loose when you're out on the golf course, you are allowed to restore the club to its original setting that you had on the first tee. So you don't have to go around hitting something that's loose or maybe stop using the club because it's become unattached. But putting a club back to its original setting is the only time you should be getting a wrench out on the golf course. Now, our wedges can wear out quicker than we might like to admit, so it can be really easy to go online and buy a simple tool like this to just clean out those grooves and try and get a little bit extra lifespan out of our wedges. And while this is allowed, there are some pretty strict groove rules that we need to make sure we're sticking to. Now, the grooves have to be straight and parallel, and they also have to be symmetrical in terms of their cross-sectional shape. There's also a specific depth and width that we can't go over. So if you're using one of these tools to clean out your wedges and sharpen them up a bit, just be wary of this, because if you do make the grooves too deep or too wide, or they end up not being symmetrical, your club would become illegal, and if you use that out on the golf course, you could be disqualified. Now, the maximum width the groove can be is 0.9 millimeters, and the maximum depth is 0.508 millimeters. So if you're not that precise, which I definitely don't think I would be, maybe don't go messing around with your wedges. I mean, at the end of the day, if you've worn them out, you're probably getting a good amount of use out of them, and maybe it's time to treat yourself to an upgrade. It's a cold day and you've got a little bit of a walk to the next tee. And since you've been watching my winter golf distances video, you know that a warm golf ball goes further than a cold one. So you decide to get out your artificial hand warmers, put your golf ball next to it to heat it up. Now, while this might seem like a good idea, you're obviously artificially improving the performance characteristics of the golf ball. So this isn't allowed. You can put your golf ball in your pocket to keep it warm, but you can't put it up against any heated objects which are artificially heating the surface. So if you want to make some distance gains, you're probably going to have to stick to gym work or speed sticks and not putting a heater in your pocket.